YouTube, what's going on? This is Dan. Alright, in this video, I'm going to be sharing some seeds that I'm planning to put in my fall garden. Fall is an excited time here in Florida. Whether you're in North, Central, or South Florida, it's the ideal time for us to grow a ton of food. The summer, our summer is like brutal, so we could grow a lot of perennial type, not traditional, leafy greens, but perennial, like the longevity spinach, Okinawa spinach, and there's a lot of other, perennials, but we all like our annuals, the kale, the collards, the bok choy, the carrots, the tomatoes, So this is the ideal time for us to actually start our fall garden. This year I'm going to be doing something different where normally I would start my seeds indoor and bring them outside. It was a real busy summer, so I'm just going to be putting my seeds directly in my garden bed. I'll walk you over there and show you the garden bed in a minute, but first I'm going to show you all the seeds that I'm planning to put in my fall garden. All right, and I'm also going to be just giving you updates, seed germinate process, how everything is looking. Let you guys follow along. I'm going to show you the failures, the successes, which normally we have more success than failures, which I'm extremely thankful for. All right, so I'm going to let me show you the seeds that I'm planning to put in the fall garden. All right, so let me show you the seeds that I'm going to be. There's some new seeds that are, this is the first time I'm going to be growing them, and there's some that I've definitely been growing over the years, So let's get into it. All right, so the first, let's go to the new stuff that I'm going to be growing. The new stuff I'm going to be growing is Mizuna. Mizuna is a leafy green. It come in a purple and red color. You could use it in a salad. You could cook it. Multiple uses. You could juice it. So this is the first year I'm going to be growing Mizuna. And I'm excited about that. Another thing I'm going to be growing is the mustard. This is the vibrant ultraviolet mustard. First year growing that. All right, let's go down here. All right, and then I grew this last year. This is a Chinese cabbage, a late Nagasaki cabbage. I love Asian greens, so we'll be growing a ton of Asian greens as usual. Another thing I'm going to be growing is the bok choy, the purple lady bok choy. Definitely need that. This was one of my favorite greens last year. This is a chime jinsai, greens, extremely good. If you haven't grown this, definitely add this to your plans. Another thing is the baby bok choy. They weren't really baby, they were like extremely big, so I'm excited to grow these this year again. And then this is the Tasoy mustard, another extremely tasty green that's a must-have in my fall garden. Then I'm going to be adding I grew this couple of years, every year I grew the Morris heading collards. So this is definitely a must-have in the garden. Then I'm going to be definitely adding some more Seminole pumpkin. I did plant some seeds in the food forest a few days ago, and then I have the Florida broadleaf mustard. This is a must-have. The leaves are huge. It's extremely tasty. It's not bitter. Like the whole family love this. So I'm definitely going to the Florida broadleaf mustard. It's a must have in my garden. And then I'm going to add some Merlot, lettuce. I'm gonna grow this in a container as well. Let me see some other stuff here that I have here. Then I'll be growing a bunch of kales, but the kales I'm gonna be growing in, I think I'm gonna grow those in containers this year. You know, all other seeds I'm gonna be growing in my raised bed, which I'm gonna bring you over here in a minute. Yep. So these are the kales I'm gonna be adding. Then of course I'm gonna be adding some, you know, the daikon radishes. This is the Royal Chantenay carrots. This did well last year. This also, the little fingers, did extremely well also. Yeah, and you know, also there's some stuff that I grew, you know, like last year and the year before, which I'm not gonna grow this year. And some of those stuff I won't be growing this year is the cabbage. You know, the early Jersey cabbage. This was like a failure. The heads form halfway, you know. Yeah, so I don't want nothing that give me too much headache to grow, you know. So I'm definitely won't be growing the, you know, the broccoli. The broccoli bolted like in just as soon as the flower came up, it started bolted. So I'm definitely not growing no broccoli. The red mustard, I may just throw those seeds and, you know, be chicken food, you know, for the red mustard. I'm not really a big fan of the taste of the red mustard because it, you know, that deep bitter taste. There's other mustards that's a lot better than this, like the Florida broadleaf mustard, extremely good, tasty. You know, you could stir fry it, you could steam it, you could do it in so many different ways. Yeah. Yep. And I want this, the tree kale. This is the walking stick kale. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna grow this year. All right, so you know that's some of the seeds we plan to grow this fall, and I hope you guys know that, as I said, fall is the ideal season for us here in Florida to start a garden. If you're a first-time gardener, you know, and you want to have success in the garden, start your garden in the fall. Meaning you could start planting your seeds now. You know, almost in September. September is tomorrow, or something like that. So, you know, we could all start. If you want to plant in containers, get some containers, fill it with some dirt, get some worm castings, put in it, just put your seeds in, and you're gonna have success with the fall garden. The plus side with the fall is you know, more favorable temperatures to work in the garden. There's less pest issue to worry about during the cooler. You know, once it get cooler, the pests, they all go somewhere else. And so, you know, let me walk over to the garden bed that, you know, I'm going to be using that as my main garden bed, but then I'm going to probably plant in some containers, because I did I had like 3 garden beds in the past. Now I only have 1. So I'm going to replace those with some containers. I have a lot of containers here that I could probably put 2 or 3, you know, mustards in, you know, and still get a lot of food during the fall, you know. So let's walk over there and let me show you something. All right, so this is one of the garden beds here. This is I think 8 or 10 by 4, you know. So I've been preparing this bed right through the summer by adding rabbit manure, you know, and food scraps, and let it break down into the bed. And then what I did was to you know, cover it with the banana tree leaves, you know, just to protect in the soil, because the soil, you don't want the soil to stay bare like that, you know, until I'm ready to plant and add everything in it. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to you know, for the fall season and for us to grow some good food, you know. Yep. So if you see right here, we have a rabbit manure, you know, and the food scraps is buried in it as well. Yep. So this bed been like marinating, and that's one of the things too. You prepare your bed. You don't prepare the bed when you're just gonna plant. You prepare it way in advance before you start adding, your seeds. Prepare, get the soil ready, you know, get some life in the soil, you know, and you know, that's part of getting a successful garden. So you don't have to be loading it up. You know, 'cause if you just put this dead soil with no life in the soil, you can be pouring all this synthetic fertilizer, and whatever you put in your garden is what you're gonna get back. If you put good input, you're gonna get good input. Put bad input, you're gonna get bad input in your food. 'Cause your food will intake everything that you put back in your garden. All right, guys. So let's get ready for a fall garden. We still have a lot of time. You know, September is, you know, the month we could start. You know, I'm going to be direct sowing my seeds, as I said, you know, but also we have the whole month of September, which is going to be in the probably still high 80s, high 90s for the seeds to germinate, get, you know, get plants to grow to a nice size, and then once the fall come in, they're going to just flourish with that nice cool weather. All right, so thank you so much for watching. And I hope you guys have a successful fall garden. Or be blessed with peace, love, happiness, and kindness.